Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an exciting video for you. We are going to review the Fender Vintera 70's Telecaster. So what I'm going to do is we're going to mark it over 4 different areas, and they are the physical look of the guitar and the design. We're going to cover the specification, so what components, what materials that have been used. 3, we're going to cover the playability of the guitar, is it comfortable to play? And then 4, we're going to do a sound test. Now we're going to mark each of these components out of 10, and we're going to average a score at the end, and hopefully that'll give us our overall rating for this piece of gear right here. So let's dive right into it. So talking about the physical appearance of the guitar and its design. Now, I'm sure most of you will agree, this is probably one of the nicest guitars that I've ever seen. That's it, end of sentence. Right away, you know, the shell pink really catches your eye. I don't know what it is about guitars that are in shell pink, but it's like the matte black of cars, but for guitars, shell pink. I think this probably applies to most shell colors, in fairness. Most sort of like soft pastel colors gives you that sort of really classy and elegant look. It's bold, it's unique, and it gives off that really cool retro 70s vibe. Not going too much into specifications right now, but we've got a semi-hollow ash body, which includes that iconic F-hole. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, if I ever saw a guitar with an F-hole, such as this, I immediately thought, that's a top tier piece of equipment. The reason behind that is probably because a lot of classical stringed instruments such as violins and cellos do have F-holes. So when you add it to a guitar like this, it adds that level of elegance that you'll see on a classical instrument such as those. It also comes with a white pearlescent Polaroid pickguard, which complements the shell pink beautifully. Fender easily could have gone with a white pickguard, but why stop there? Make it pearlescent. Make it Polaroid, make it shine in the light. They've done an absolute insane job with the design of this. The color combinations are spot on. You know, this is one of those guitars that looks just as good in your hand, if not better, in person than it does on images that you see online. Just to add a bit of credibility to that, I've used this guitar as my primary guitar for a long time. Now, most of the comments that I get on social media are about the guitar, where's it from, the overall look. And then I've used this guitar in sessions, I've used this guitar at gigs, and without fail, I'll always get a compliment on the look of this guitar. Most people will say that it's beautiful, it's one of the nicest things I've ever seen. So if you manage to get your hands on one of these, just be prepared for the onslaught of compliments you're gonna get. One thing I do need to point out is the fretboard on this guitar is not stock, it's not how it comes. This isn't a custom guitar. What I've done is I've gone ahead and added some inlay stickers to the fretboard, which is a magnolia flower. So over time, this isn't the complete pack. Over time, they have fallen off, but a lot of them, especially at the higher frets, have stayed in place. So I'll probably need to replace them at some point, but I think this guitar looks just as good as it does with the inlays as it does without. But hey, Fender, if you're watching this and you ever feel like you want to build me a custom guitar, then let's make this happen. So yeah, talking about the rest of the design, moving up to the neck of the guitar, it's got a vintage tint to it, so it looks a bit more on like the orangey side in person. I'm not really sure how it comes up on camera. Speaking of the neck, we do have a gloss finish. I know some people don't like that, but again, I think in terms of physical appearance only, that it does add another level of elegance to the guitar. It looks a bit more polished, it looks a bit more elegant, it looks more expensive as it gives it a sleek, shiny appearance. Moving up to the headstock, we've got a 70s style logo. At the back, we've got that iconic Telecaster line. I don't know if that's proprietary to Fender or anything like that, or if it's just an indicator there's a truss rod there, or if it's just simply to look cool. And then we've got silver tuning heads and a silver backplate. So in my opinion, I think, feel free to dispute this, of course, in the comments, due to the color combination, the Polaroid pickguard, the tinted neck, and also the finish, I'm gonna give this guitar a 10 out of 10 for appearance. But let's find out what's on the inside, because that's what matters the most. We're gonna go ahead and do a deep dive into the specs. So the body is made of ash, which gives it a bright, resonant tone. The neck has a thin C profile, which in Fender terms, makes it more comfortable to play. Now, if you compared it to something like an Ibanez guitar, for example, the thin aspect doesn't even come close. You'll find a much thinner neck profile on something like this, but like I said, in Fender terms, it's probably the best you're gonna get. We've got a 25.5-inch scale length. We've got a 7.25-inch radius. We've got 21 vintage style frets. When I say vintage style, they're a little bit smaller. I think this also sets us apart from other Telecasters, but we've got a pair of Fender wide range humbucker pickups. The pickups are controlled by a 3-way switch, which is very typical. Position 1, which is up, is the neck pickup, split between the 2 in the middle position, and then the final third position at the end, pointing away, is the bridge pickup alone, which is going to give you a harsher, more twangy sound. Of course, we've got a fixed bridge, and then we also have an individual volume knob and a tone knob. So you have a bit more flexibility in how you want this guitar to sound. Point I mentioned, the Fender pickups do have the Fender logo embossed in them. Flipping the guitar to the back now, we've got vintage style tuners, which have the Fender F embossed into them. And then we also have a 3-saddle vintage style string through body Tele bridge. So everything about this guitar screams vintage, but with modern playability. I feel like Fender put some real thought into this. You know, they've thought, how can we make this as close to the retro design as possible while maintaining that quality and giving it a new modern twist. Now, how this translates to the real world, you know, we've got an ash body, which gives it a bright and resonant tone. We've got the humbucker pickups, which is not typical of a Telecaster at all, which gives it a slightly more warm and resonant tone. Now, of course, we've got a semi-hollow body, so this thing is just screaming like warmth. So in terms of specs, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. At this price point, I don't think there's much more they could have done to improve this. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the playability element. So we've got a Thinline body. It's a bit on the heavier side. I don't know what the exact weight is. I'll pop it up on screen somewhere, but it feels a little bit heavier than some of the other guitars that I've got. It's not top heavy. It should stay in a horizontal position and not dip like some of the other guitars I got. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the thin C neck profile. It's thin enough if you do want to do, if you're into playing fast and complex runs, or if you're playing for a long time, it should be comfortable enough for you. You've got a 7¼ inch radius, which gives it that sort of rounder feel on the neck. It does make bending notes slightly easier and it gives chords a real solid feel. I'll be completely honest, I prefer a flatter neck, but if you're a vintage enthusiast, then I'm sure you will be singing its praises. I mentioned earlier that we've got a gloss finish. Some people don't like gloss finishes, but for me, it feels like a more premium guitar in your hands. I have a great time playing this guitar. I don't need to hydrate the neck with some lemon oil. I've had this guitar for a long time and it still feels great to play. There's no sort of stiffness or getting stuck on the frets. As long as my strings are fresh or I've got some string lube on there, then playing this is an absolute dream. But overall, I'd say the guitar, it does play like a dream. Like I said, the only thing for me is the radius of the neck. I prefer a flatter neck, but it's a minor touch point for everything else that you're getting in terms of playability. There's not enough going on here to kind of get in the way. There's no whammy bar. You've got a simple switch, pickup switch, and then 2 knobs. So it does what it needs to do. It's flexible enough, it's playable enough. And for that reason, I'm gonna give this guitar a 8 out of 10 for overall playability. So now we're going to talk about the sound. We're going to DI it, so there's going to be no effects, there's no amp simulation or anything on this thing at all. Go through each of the pickup options and discuss how it sounds. Just to mention, we have this guitar DI'd straight into my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, and that's recording into Ableton. So you're hearing this directly with no effects, just a preamp that's in the sound card. So we're going to start with a clean tone in the neck position. The volume's all the way up and the tone is dialed down slightly from the top. Initial thoughts, especially from the neck pickup, we're definitely getting a really warm, resonant tone. So switching to the mid pickup now, we're expecting it to be less warm, a little bit more bright and more twangy. Oh, you can hear that straight away. Yeah, so you can hear immediately there, it's less warm and it adds a bit more crispiness to the tone. Now, the bridge pickup, I would typically never play a clean tone using a bridged pickup, but this is how it sounds. As expected, really twangy, really bright, not so warm, and it cuts through the mix. So we're changing up this slightly. We're gonna use the Donner Arena 2000 multi-effects pedal. I've done a full review breakdown on this pedal in another video. So if you're interested in finding out more about this, then give that video a watch. The link will be in the description. Okay, so we found a distorted preset. I've added a bit of reverb and delay, not too much. We're getting a bit of natural resonance from the semi-hollow body. The humbuckers really are delivering a thick, punchy sound. Now, a lot of the stuff that you would have heard would have been dictated from the amp simulation as opposed to the guitar itself. Of course, if I tested it side by side with several different guitars, you would probably hear the difference. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight as to what the overdriven tones on this guitar sound like. Now, this would be really ideal for rock, bluesy type songs. I was going with a heavily metal tone, but of course if I dialed it back a little bit, you'll be able to hear the warmth a little bit more. The bridge pickup really does cut through the mix, has a lot of bite to it, and the neck pickup gives you kind of like a really full saturated tone. So when you're playing like the quick runs, it adds a bit more smoothness to it and a bit more sustain that you can feel when you really dig in. The guitar's versatile enough, it can pretty much handle any style you throw at it. What do you guys think of the Fender Vintera 70's Thinline? I think it's an absolutely stunning guitar. It combines a vintage look with modern playability. Because you get so much flexibility with the sounds that you can achieve with it, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. So that's gonna conclude today's review. If you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. Let's aim for 20 likes. You smashed the like goal in the past 2 videos, so let's go ahead and do it again. If you have any questions around topics I didn't cover for the guitar itself, drop a comment below and I'll get back to you when I can. And of course, if you want to see more of my content, more videos, more gear reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, if you're interested in a full review for the Donut Arena 2000, make sure you click the video shown on screen now. Until the next one, take it easy, stay blessed, and I'll catch you all soon.